Hi, and welcome back to Vepra Podcast. In today's episode, I'm sharing a look inside a U.S. Senate hearing I attended this week. NATO Summit 2025, an assessment of transatlantic security cooperation. The hearing held by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in room SD 419 of the Senate Office Building brought together key members of the Senate and expert witnesses to access where NATO stands today, especially as the 2025 summit approaches, and to examine the future of transatlantic security in light of rising global threats. We'll cover the key points and why this matters for U.S. foreign relations today. NATO. Brief history reflection. Before diving into the hearing itself, I want to offer a brief reflection on the history and the significance of NATO. NATO was founded in 1949 in the aftermath of World War II. NATO's core mission is to safeguard the freedom and the security of its member nations through political and military cooperation. The alliance was built to deter aggression, ensure European stability, and create a transatlantic bond between North America and Europe. Over the decades, NATO has adapted to new challenges from the Cold War to terrorism, cyber warfare, and now the resurgence of great power competition. In recent years, NATO's relevance has returned to the global spotlight, largely driven by Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The most destabilizing war in Europe since World War II, and it's been going on for 3 years currently. The war has killed thousands of civilians, it has destroyed cities, it has displaced millions of Ukrainians, and while testing NATO's unity and resolve. Ukraine's aspirations to join NATO has only grown since the invasion has began. And while NATO allies continue to provide military, economic, and humanitarian aid, the question of formal membership remains very complex, balancing alliance commitments with the risk of escalations with Russia. Meanwhile, under Vladimir Putin, Russia has shown no sign of retreat. Instead, the Kremlin has intensified its military buildup and hybrid aggression, threatening transatlantic unity and the broader European security order. In response, NATO is growing stronger, with Finland and Sweden joining as new members, and the alliance's principle of collective defense, enshrined in Article 5, has taken on renewed urgency. In this context, this week's Senate hearing on the upcoming NATO summit was not just like another policy session. It was a vital reflection on how the U.S. and its allies are preparing for the next chapter in NATO's evolution. During the hearing, two distinguished expert witnesses provided testimony, offering deep insights into NATO's current challenges and future priorities. Dr. Alina Polyakova, who is the president and CEO of the Center of European Policy Analysis, began by highlighting how Russia's war in Ukraine has reshaped the global security landscape, pushing European alliances to finally take greater responsibility for their own defense. She also noted a dramatic increase in European defense spending. While only 7 NATO members met the 2% of GDP defense target before the invasion, today that number has surged to 23 out of the 32 alliance. So from 7 to 23, with even higher taxes expected at this year's summit. Dr. Polyakova emphasized 3 key points for U.S. national security. 1. U.S. leadership remains essential in principle, people, and resources. 2. NATO's open door policy remains vital for credibility, especially regarding Ukraine's future memberships. 3. She also stressed the need for NATO to modernize, deepening interoperability, expanding Europe's defense industrial base, and adapting to Russia's hybrid tactics. Above all, she underscored that U.S. leadership remains the alliance's backbone in this critical moment. Peter Rowe, he is the Senior Fellow and Director of the Hudson Institute Center for Europe and Eurasia. He delivered an equally urgent message. He echoed new NATO Security General Mark Rutte's warning. And to quote, Europe faces a choice: either invest seriously in defense or risk losing its security edge. In Rutte's words, learn to speak Russian, which when I heard this was obviously horrifying. So Rutte argued that Europe's prior over-reliance on U.S. deterrence is no longer sustainable. Russia's military rearmament, the construction of new bases near Finland, and increasing hybrid aggression signal that NATO will soon be directly tested. We hope not, but it looks like it would. It probably will be. He called for a new 5 for 5 model, 5% of GDP dedicated to defense spending, with at least 3.5 directed towards hard power. He also urged the U.S. to reaffirm its absolute commitment to Article 5 to avoid fragmentation or drift toward European strategic autonomy. Additionally, Peter Rowe criticized NATO's current response to Russia's hybrid warfare, sabotage, cyber attacks, and covert operations as too passive. He called for more assertive countermeasures and clearer thresholds for triggering Article 5 in response to hybrid threats. Now, one of the most striking insights from Rowe's testimony came when he addressed the rising tensions between Israel and Iran that have been currently going on for the past week. He warned that current instability in the Middle East could further complicate NATO's strategic posture. He revealed that in response to these tensions, NATO has already deployed elements of its naval fleet into key maritime zones throughout Europe as a precaution against potential conflict escalation in the Middle East or Persian Gulf region. This move highlights how NATO must remain agile, capable of responding not only to European threats, but to evolving global crises from Ukraine to the Middle East. Now, in conclusion, listening to both expert witnesses and the senators in attendance, it is clear that this year's NATO Summit will be one of the most consequential in decades. The stakes are high. NATO must rapidly evolve to confront the increasingly aggressive Russia while also preparing for long-term challenges posed by authoritarian actors like China and Iran. At the heart of it all is one enduring truth. NATO's future and the future of European security depends on deep transatlantic cooperation, strong U.S. leadership, and an unshakable commitment to collective defense. I'll be watching next week's summit closely, and I look forward to bringing you more insight as these critical decisions unfold. Thank you for tuning in today's episode of Vepra Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation or have topics that you'd like to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. And for those interested, I'll also be sharing a link to the full Senate hearing in the show notes, so you can watch the full discussion for yourself. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay inspired. Thank you.